Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar tonight. Thank you all for being here. Our webinar is for student activities and campus life here at Linden Hall. So we'll be focusing on what our students are doing outside of the classroom and their academics. So I have our student affairs team here. My name is Natasha Lopez. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at Linden Hall. And so our Student Affairs team will introduce themselves, and then I will have some questions for them regarding student life. And you're welcome to ask any questions in our Q&A part at the bottom of your screen throughout the webinar. So Natasha Solomon, you're welcome to take over.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Natasha Solomon. I'm the Director of Student Affairs, and this is my 9th school year here at Linden Hall. It's been a blast, so very happy to get to speak with you all tonight.
Yeah, I'll just hop up. My name is Chris Pula. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Affairs, also Coordinator of IT as well, and this is my 3rd school year.
Hey, I am April Moulier. I'm the school counselor. It's my 5th school year at Linden Hall. I started as a dorm parent and then now have been in the school counselor role for 4 years, but spent a good chunk of that as a dorm parent as well.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ashley Snyder, the Director of Residential Life, and it is my first year at Linden Hall.
April,
Thank
it's
you.
wild. It's been so long. It's wild.
I know, 5 is a good chunk. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you all for introducing yourselves. To start off our webinar, I want to ask questions about our events and traditions here at Linden Hall because I know we cherish all of our traditions. So we have traditions like our Vespers, which is our winter concert coming up this weekend on Thursday and Friday, Gretna Day, International Night. So I wanted to ask each of you what your favorite tradition is and if you have a memory relating to that tradition. Ms. Solomon, you can start us.
Okay. So actually I really do enjoy all of the events, but my favorite are probably the end of year events. We do, several awards ceremonies, and then we have an event called Baccalaureate, which is sort of like a church sort of vigil kind of the evening before graduation that's specifically for like the 11th and 12th graders. And I just remember my first year coming together and seeing all of, and it's like a whole week of things. And being like, oh, like this is like the bow on top of like all of the cool things that we do. And yeah, like I just remember being blown away. Like it's so, so beautiful. So those are probably like my favorites.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mr. Pula.
Okay. I was just gonna I figured we were just going rapid fire. So
Yeah, that's right.
so I come from so I played baseball up into college, so I'm all about competition. So my thing all day is Blue and White Week, which I helped put together with our uh athletic director, Kathy Martell. But so it's basically just like a week-long competition. Uh, the entire student body as well as staff are split up between 2 teams, blue team and white team. And Blue and White Week is literally just a week where we do activities in the back end of each day. And at the end of the week, like we announce a big winner. I just love it because the competitive spirit comes out in a multitude of games like we do, different type of ones that require athleticism. Other ones are like, trivia, something like that. So we kind of mix it up. But yeah, it's fun seeing the kids kind of get intense and and throw some jabs at each other every once in a while because I am like, oh, blue team's gonna take it this year, stuff like that. So
I
that's what I
actually, you wouldn't know this, Mr. Pula, but today at chapel, Mr. Foreman has retitled it White and Blue Week because
Okay.
the white team won
Okay.
last year. So
I
I was
like it.
like, oh, it was awesome.
He's already starting it. I love it.
I love Vespers. Natasha Lopez shared that that's coming up tomorrow actually for us. But it's the special Christmas holiday kind of pre-winter break service that our musicians work really, really hard to put together a beautiful show. And not only do our musicians put it together, we also have additional students who give poems and messages. And yeah, I would say it probably involves, I don't know, at least 70% of the student body. It involves a lot of the students. And while they're all participating, yeah, just being an audience member is amazing at that event. It really gets us all ready for the holiday season, you know, whatever holiday you might celebrate, but also kind of just stirs up the excitement of having a long winter break, and kind of getting it, you know, this far in the year, getting halfway through the year. I think I really like Vespers and cherish it, especially because my office is just below the orchestra room. And so I hear the orchestra practice from the beginning of the year. And it is amazing to hear them start in August. And I hear them tuning their instruments and kind of just barely being able to play something together. And at this point, you know, I've heard them rehearse this week and it sounds amazing. So I always just look so forward to seeing the real thing when the actual event happens.
I would say mine is something we recently did at this point in the school year. We did an all-school field trip, and this year's trip was to Philadelphia. And students, staff, faculty, we all went to Philadelphia together. We had a chance to see some museums and have that cultural experience, kind of get some history and do the historic Philadelphia. And then we got to go to the Reading Terminal Market and just have food from all around the world. It was amazing. The students had a great time. I had a great time as a staff. And last year was a different city. So it's fun to get outside of Lidditz to explore the local areas and just increase our cultural competencies together as a school and create some fun memories.
Thank you all. I would love to add on my favorite memory, 'cause it kind of goes with my next question. So my favorite memory or my favorite event here at Linden Hall is International Night, which will fall on my birthday this year. So I'm really excited.
A little plug
And
there. A little plug.
and our students and our student government run the entire night. It's to really cherish and show each student's diverse background and their culture. We have great food that our students make, and then we have great performances. And so my next question is, how involved are our students in starting these events, implementing them, and helping as well? If Chris or Natasha want to answer, since you guys kind of handle events on campus.
So Chris, chime in. I think we have a good sort of balance of, you know, like we as a team, I think run a lot of events, you know, whether it's like orientation, like supporting like the end of year events. But I think a part of our like dedication to like fostering leadership in students also is giving them the time and the space to you know, run sort of from planning all the way through execution. And obviously, you know, the first time kids do things, like obviously the adults are helping a little bit more, you know, so we also want it to be, I know it's like never popular to talk about failure, you know, like in an admissions event, but like, you know, we want them to have a safe place to fail as they like figure out, you know, like, I mean, if the first lesson they learn is like, wow, putting on an event is harder than I thought it was, like, I feel like that's a good event, you know, it's a good thing for them to learn. But, you know, if you think about someone who's here with us from like 6th grade through 12th grade, I mean, that's 7 years of participating in and supporting, you know, the production of events here on campus. And, you know, they're able to be club leaders and, you know, they're student leaders in their grade or in, you know, student council, resident assistants, you know, in the dorms. And so I feel like the older they get and the more comfortable they get in our community, I mean, if they really want to be involved in big things, they can. I actually just had 3 kids come to me who run our medical professional club. So it's called Club Med. And they're like, we think we really want to do a blood drive. Like, can we talk to you about like how we get started? organizing that, and so then I feel like, the role that we all have is sort of to be like, okay, here's some things we need to do, and just support them, through that process. Chris, anything to add, or anyone?
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing I just want to highlight is like one, obviously students can come to like the blood drive, like it could be something totally that's, not traditional event that maybe we have from year to year or something like that. They would be able to like literally start from bottom. But I think one thing that's I wanted to highlight is we do have class mentors as well. Um, so like Natasha was saying that if somebody was here from six all the way to 12th grade, it's it's a great it's a great opportunity because you have your staged events for each grade level that they would have to throw for the rest of the school. For example, coming right off the bat is like 10th grade throws homecoming, 11th grade throws prom. But yeah, so in there they also have fundraising. So we have our stable events that everybody kind of collaborates and helps, and those class mentors help guide those students. But there's also room for them to be like, what, we're going to do a fundraiser, and they can just have fun with it and really see, and like Natasha said, that they learn, they be able to challenge each other, and in some cases fail, but also learn from it and kind of grow, which is a cool opportunity.
I think too, like something I would add, Natasha, if it's okay. Sorry, I know Natasha, but like I would add, I think something our department thinks a lot about too. So at the end of at graduation, we have a set of awards that are called like the Linden Legends. And so like it's this beautiful crystal tower that's like given to the kids who have been here grade 6 to grade 12. Once upon a time when we had a 5th grade, 5 to 12, but now it is 6 to 12. And I think we think a lot, in student life, just about like, ideally, what do we hope the experience of a kid, who is with us for all of these years, like what are the experiences we hope that they collect, and are they able to sort of like take with them, like as they go on to college and beyond, and so I think our focus in the last couple of years has really been sort of doing what Chris has talked about and like codifying, like with one of our arts teachers, like we've decided, like it's really important to us for us at the holidays that 6th and 7th graders like maybe get to do some sort of art, like we go to see a play, or we go to see, a ballet or something like that. And so, I think we're trying to think about holistically, what is the experience a kid, in 2024 like needs to be having to have like a really full and like lush educational experience. And I really love this group as a collaborative group of people to, be thinking about that with.
Thank you. So going off on about clubs, how does a new student get involved in a club? Is it a requirement here at Linden Hall as well?
So yes, so we have sort of two kinds of clubs. We have formal clubs and social clubs, which have literally nothing to do with anything except when they meet, because we have some really serious and competitive clubs that like meet in a social manner, and then we have in our schedule, which is really special to us, like a period every week that is just dedicated to club time, and so the kids get to sort of join together around experiences that they enjoy. And we all sort of help lead clubs. So like Ms. Moliere, I know you have mentored through the years a number of clubs. Like what are you working with this year?
Yeah, so this year, right now, I don't have a club. I'm overseeing it all. But in the past, girls have come to me kind of in my school counselor role. The clubs that tend to come my way include clubs that kind of are meant to spread kindness and kind of build connections with others. We right now haven't gotten a mental health club off the ground, but I know the idea is there, just need to get the right people involved. Oh, but all that said, those have been formal club requests. I am a part of Outdoor Adventure Club, which is a social club, which Miss Solomon was just making the distinction about. So yes, this year, even though right now I don't have a formal club, we do have a few kiddos who are interested in hiking, doing outdoor activities, learning some survival skills, and so I co-lead that with someone else.
And I'm trying to think, Mr. Pula, have you ever yes, of course, Key Club. Will you talk to us a little bit about what Key Club's up to this year?
Yep, absolutely. So Key Club is a social club. I just wanted to highlight, so social club and formal. Formal, they meet each week, and then social, they can have as many social clubs that they would like. So if they want to be a part of 5 social clubs, that's fine. They just to make sure that they can fit it in their schedule and balance their time. But so Key Club is a social club. It is a national um club as well. So it is something where we do have members, and we have to report to a parent association, which is Kiwanis. It is a community service-based club. So it kind of the main goal of the club is to foster community within the school as well as the surrounding area. So we do like different types of drives, or different type of community service activities. Just to name a few, is we're doing right now we're kind of doing like a battery drive. A lot of people tend to just throw their batteries into the trash. So we're just collecting, anybody who's throwing out AA batteries. Don't throw them out in the trash. Bring it to us. We'll properly dispose them. We're doing that throughout the entire year. We did like posted a praise just recently, which is to foster community on campus, just giving kids the opportunity just to write down like some of the impactful things that our staff and faculty are doing in their lives. And then in the past we've done like a sock drive, which we ended up donating to homeless shelters around Lancaster County. But yeah, that's just something that Key Club does, and we continue to do throughout the year.
And then, we have like a whole mix. So like one of my favorite clubs that I'm not actually a part of, but I love like looking at is we have a group that plays Minecraft, like they're dedicated Minecrafters. And so like the kids come together and they game, and the student who runs it, is so excited, for games and challenges. And, that they sort of, the student club leaders collaborate with an adult mentor to sort of create the programming for clubs throughout the year. And I think, again, looking to that leadership piece, it's a really fun opportunity. Because Ms. Snyder is new, like, so we try to protect our newbies, as they're like getting to know the school community. I feel like sometimes life is so fast here. So she doesn't run a club yet, but like, don't worry, like we'll get her soon.
Yeah. 7 clubs next year.
And so we have over 30 clubs on campus, but if there's a club we don't have and a student is interested in starting one, are they able to, and how do they go about doing that?
I mean, really, I think the children would probably say the most challenging thing is finding an adult like to help them, just because, again, like we are a small-ish school. And so, like Mr. Pula jokes, like we're all doing like 7 clubs. In many cases, I think we have folks that are lending their many talents, to many places. But, for instance, I had a student who like happens to be really passionate about Lord of the Rings and was like, you know what, I want to sponsor this year, like a read through. And so, collaborated with some friends and a teacher. And so at the beginning of every year, we have a thing that's called Club Fair. And so, we kind of kick off the year with a little bit of a survey of like, these are the clubs we have had, but if you have done something in a former school or are just really excited and, sort of creating community around an idea or an activity, they apply, get an adult mentor, and we, try to support them. So like some new things this year, we have Quiz Bowl that has been like a huge hit. Like our kids are just having a lot of fun, competing against schools in our area. In years past, we've had like bit and spur clubs, for the kids who are interested, in horseback riding or, just learning a little bit more about like what it means, to participate, in equestrian activities. I'm trying to think what else, like art clubs. One of the clubs that I run is called DECA, and it's a school business club. Again, nationally affiliated, kind of like Key Club. But that came actually because a kid transferred here in her 11th grade year from a school in California that had like a really robust program. And she was like, hey, I really want to do this. And I was like, I have no idea what that is, but like, okay, and I mean, it was awesome. And like, that was 7 years ago, and she helped create this like beautiful legacy that again, it has turned into our own like really robust program. And so I think that's a cool thing too. Like sometimes we see clubs that that only last like when the kids that sort of start them are here, but then we definitely, like for instance, our Black Student Union, is an organization that started some years ago, but like kids have sort of kept it going. And so it's a cool way to sort of track legacy, as well, and sort of for the kids to have like lasting impacts. So it's fun.
And to go on a little bit about supporting students, I'll start with April, since you're a school counselor. How do we go
Those are my
about
notes.
supporting students, both socially and academically?
Yeah, so a few different ways. I think to start, I just think about the way our school is, which yeah, it's been mentioned a couple times, just in being a smaller school. I think all the adults are always looking out for the kids. I would say our adults, our faculty, are very thoughtful and mindful and good at getting to know our students and being able to read them well. So we have eyes everywhere and we have people looking out for your kids, your kid or kids everywhere. And so, yeah, I kind of start there that your kid at Linden Hall is seen. They are known. They build relationships with many of the adults, but I would say it's rare that a student doesn't find at least one adult that they really kind of connect with and take to. Whether it's a teacher, a favorite teacher, an advisor, it might happen to be me, a dorm parent. So all that said, your kid will be seen and will not fall through the cracks just in being a smaller school, but also in the adults we hire. We just have some really, really amazing faculty. Just as a side note, I meet with every student actually, which is part of student care, just for what I call like a 10-minute meeting, a little get to know you meeting that I do with every student. So they're not scared to come to me if something starts to get hard and that relationship is, starting to be built. But all that said, one of the questions in my 10-minute meeting is asking the returning students what some of their favorite parts about Linden Hall are. And I would say almost all of the students say the teachers are one of their favorite parts of Linden Hall. So the adults here are amazing. They do so much more than teach your child a subject. They build a relationship with them and they care. So I can assure you that your child in coming to Linden Hall will have plenty of adults who really care about them, looking out for them. But in my role specifically, like I mentioned, I really want to establish some sort of a connection with every student. I understand I'm just one person, and so it's okay if I'm not every student's go-to, and that might overwhelm me anyway. But I like them to at least know that they can come into my office and have a safe place to talk at any point in the year if they need to. So I do that little 10-minute get to know you meeting with every student. In that meeting, I ask them what kind of support they want throughout the rest of the year. So I ask them, do you want me to check in with you every quarter? Are there specific things you want me to be looking out for or asking you about that maybe you don't get to talk about with many other people? And so I'm very thankful that in my role as a school counselor, I'm able to really just focus on kind of the social emotional health of students, because many school counselors also have to do the college counseling piece. But we have an amazing college counselor named Miss Smith, Paige Smith. So while she's working on that with the juniors and seniors, I can really just be there for students in all other areas. I would say academically, we do have a really strong academic program and good supports in place. Some of the things we offer if a student starts to struggle academically include peer tutoring. The teachers, again, I always go back to them. They always do a really good job trying to make time for the student outside of class. So we have some alternate, almost like free period study hall times. They're called Power Hour. Since none of you know what that means, we'll just call it a study hall. And those alternate times are when teachers are also available to meet with students, do some one-on-one engagement. I know our director of academic affairs checks in with students all the time, especially if grades start to slip or we're seeing something different than the typical performance for a student. So we have lots of people looking out. And the last thing I'll say as far as student care is we have a program called Students of Concern. And so with that perspective I was sharing earlier, where we're looking out for you all the time, there are always eyes on your kid. We have a system where teachers or any faculty and staff actually, they can submit a form that goes out each week. about any concern they could have about a kid. It could be an academic concern, but it could be as something as kind of different and random as, hey, I just noticed this kid eating lunch alone. I haven't seen them before. I don't really know who they usually sit with, but that might be something to look out for. And then a select team that actually does include all of the student life team and a couple other admin or kind of health related faculty like our school nurse. We all meet and talk about the student, share our own observations, and then we come up with action steps every single week to help that student kind of get back on track and make sure they're not struggling maybe more than just that small observation. And so we have a good system to catch the struggling students, and I would say many preventative measures in place to make sure that they're not getting to any sort of crisis before we can catch it.
Can I, Natasha, just compliment April too? I think the health office specifically has done a really beautiful job in the last few years. You know, we're a school in the middle of sort of a lovely small town, you know, whatever, but because so many of our students and their families, you know, are from all over, like I think we've really tried to make it a beautiful priority to partner with excellent caregivers and organizations in the community as well. And so I know it's been a huge priority for April, you know, and also for our school nurses to find practitioners that, you know, are good supports for our student, you know. And so if we have a student who would prefer to do, you know, counseling and maybe needs more than like Ms. Moliere can provide, you know, but they need that counseling in, you know, Spanish or in whatever, you know, I know she's truly tried hard to build a good network of providers. And so that's something that I take a lot of pride in as well, you know, like we want to be well connected because not only is it great for people to know Linden Hall and to like know our students, but I think we have, you know, by virtue of where we are, so many great health systems, you know, like in our area. And so, you know, supporting the good work that our school nurse and Ms. Moliere do, you know, we have some great teams in the community as well.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, I am grateful that we have good partners who were willing to work with us. And yeah, just a little bit about that. I've been able to set some different students up over the past couple years with either a Korean speaking therapist, a Mandarin speaking counselor, and Japanese speaking. So yeah, we do have just a nice diverse group of clinicians we work with for sure.
Well, thank you. I kind of going off of that, when we're thinking of new students, especially maybe sixth graders coming in, international students who are away from their family, what are some steps that we take when they're homesick or feeling isolated from the community, those first couple of weeks, getting used to being on campus?
I'll say a little piece and then happy for others to step in. I've been talking a lot here, but something I started last year was running a new student group, kind of like group sessions for the different age groups of new students. So that has gone really well. I do 3 sessions for each age group, and we do some little icebreaker, get to know you activities, but also some of that empathy building and shared experience. So I have these little scenario cards of, you know, you're a new student, and while you might have been so excited and kind of in the honeymoon phase for the first couple weeks, now you're starting to feel a little homesick. Maybe you don't really know where you belong yet. You know, what will you do to overcome it? Who can you go talk to? And so we work through those scenarios, both hypothetically, but it offers a great kind of platform for students to share, oh, like I'm actually going through this. This isn't hypothetical for me. So I'm really glad that those groups have gotten off the ground. And I will continue doing that in years to come.
I'll jump in too and say, oh, sorry. Yeah, for boarding students, our dorm parents and resident assistants do a phenomenal job of making sure that each student feels welcome, that we're kind of checking in and kind of just watching as they're getting used to our routines and such, and making sure like, you know, we're helping them along, getting used to like when is dinner time, navigating new peer groups, and just really facilitating those beginning stages. And so I think like for those boarding students, just really accepting them in part of our community, and then finding what they're passionate about, what they can connect with, whether it's a club and a sport, an activity, and just trying to find ways to pair your student to something that they'll be passionate about as well. We are also wanting to make those connections with all of the families too. So we are very responsive to whenever mom and dad call, or whoever, so that we can make those connections. And then just finding ways to help support our students just to get comfortable as they're coming to a new school and new community.
Chris, so Chris, I think of our team is the only one that serves as an advisor, but so like whether boarding or day on the academic side, also, he mentioned the class mentors sort of travel with the kids through the grades, but every year they're also assigned an advisor who is sort of a key contact person for parents. But the advisory grouping is usually a group of like 6 or 7, 8 kids, and so we try to be really thoughtful about placing kids with other students that they can make positive connections with as well. So we do try, I think, to have some programming and some in groups, whether that is advisory or the whole grade, or whatever, that help kids like make connections. And then Chris, I was wondering, would you share a little bit? We do a fair amount of orientation programming, and just onboarding throughout the year. Something we always like to say is that, were you to enroll like with Linden Hall, like you'll actually start talking to all of us like early in the summer, or even in the spring. And so, so we're going to have months of contact, like before your child actually sort of lands at school with us. And so, that's a process I love because I think it helps us really get to like build trust and like get to know the families that we work with. A lot of schools, I think, really that handoff sort of lives with admissions all the way through until when your kid arrives. And then it's like a whole nother host of adults who are like taking over. And so it's cool that we sort of partner with admissions and get to know families like sooner. It's something I enjoy. But, Chris, what else do you have to add sort of about like our orientation and like helping folks get accustomed to the community?
Yeah, no. I feel like you guys touched on a lot, but yeah, just kind of building off of what Natasha said. So we try really hard to obviously get to know families, but as well as the student to hopefully kind of build plan around an incoming student to maybe like, this person's interested in horses, like we have equestrian on campus. So like we almost have like kind of like a back burner kind of plan coming into it. If a student was to start struggling, oh, okay, we can go back into our conversations and realize the interests and maybe kind of pair them up with another student that we think they may have, different connections with. I also wanted to highlight, I know Mrs. Snyder does a great job of trying to get additional information regarding like their interest in living accommodations and living environment. So to really try to pair them with the best possible roommate, for them to, be successful, come and feel comfortable in their dorm space. And it's almost, I mean, it doesn't always work, but we hope the plan is like, that's kind of like a built-in friendship right off the so I think that's one thing that we really try to hammer home and focus on, especially in the first couple weeks when it's a totally new experience for a lot of people. So I think that's one thing that we try to recognize too, is that it's not just, that singular student. There's probably, you're looking at roughly, it could be 20 to 25 brand new students coming in having the same experience. So really trying to realize that. And I think one thing that I want to mention too is that our student body, I think, recognizes that as well. I think we really try to teach our students how to be accommodating to somebody coming in and maybe feeling uncomfortable and stepping out of their comfort zone to reach out to them and kind of to build a connection or help them around campus if they're lost or anything like that. So just those small little things I think make a big difference in the long run.
I think something we've also tried to focus on this year, especially again as a team, is like, sure, kids get homesick, but sometimes I feel like the people that actually suffer the most are parents, like in particular if it's a boarding student. And so I think, again, a focus of ours this year has been like, how are we supporting families holistically, in dealing, like, it can be a big hard step if your child is boarding for the first time, but has otherwise like really, been with you. And I think we want to recognize also that, you've been accustomed to being able to guide, your students like in their educational experiences, and sort of partnering with us, I think can be a really important way to like for parents to feel safe, without necessarily the child always in like touching distance, or whatever. And so I think parent care has been high on our list as well, of priorities this year.
Yes, and before we go into more of the boarding experience for our students, I want to remind everyone that you're welcome to throw questions in the chat regarding student life, or questions you might have outside of student life, and we're happy to answer them. But now going into boarding, 70% of our student body are boarders. So I first want to ask about what an evening in the dorms look like for our students, looking at middle school, and then what we call high school upper school. And because I know that there's some differences in both. So Miss Snyder, if you want to start us off.
Mhm. Yeah, so a typical day after school, students kind of have a little bit more of downtime before dinner. A lot of our students love to walk to downtown Lidditz. Our Main Street area has a lot of cute shops, bookstores. They love the ice cream shop. So sometimes they just want to go and kind of walk down there. We have some after school fitness time as well that students will take advantage of, or they might just want to, have a moment to grab a snack from the cafeteria, hang out with their friends, and just kind of unwind from the day. Um, some students will offer some additional support if they need an extra study time after school as well. And it's a great time for the dorm parents to just check in with them and see how their day is. We have phenomenal dinner. I love our dining hall. We're talking about like cuisine from all over the world, and there's always something different each night. So we'll have dinner. Dorm parents will have dinner with the kids, and great time to kind of just come together and enjoy that. And then after dinner time, our structured routine kind of picks up. We'll have mail time. So for any packages or letters that kids get, if they have a designated time that they go and pick those up, and RAs help coordinate that process. And then we have structured study times, and this is where the difference could be as age appropriate. So middle school will have 1 hour of study hall, and then upper school will have an hour and a half. And it's structured time where a dorm parent and resident assistant will kind of help facilitate that it's a quiet space, and students are able to just have that structured time to really catch up on work and projects and that sort of thing. And then we'll have announcements so that everyone is getting good information about what to expect for the next day or the week, special events coming up, and those things. Um, and then we have medication time. So all of our medications are managed and given to students by staff. Students don't just keep their own medications. So that is something that students can have access to that and ask for them when they need them. But we'll have designated times that we give out routine medications in the evening. And then bedtimes. So there's certain times as age appropriate, the younger kids have to go to bedtime earlier to get a little bit more sleep. And then it's kind of tiered towards older ages will get a little bit of a later bedtime. And so there's certain times that they have to be in their room, lights out, ready for their dorm parents to come around to do the bed checks and kind of say goodnight. Middles have to turn their phone in overnight. So that's part of the routine as well, as we're just trying to teach healthy habits with technology and rest and sleep hygiene. Once you're in upper school, at least this year, they're able to kind of manage that on their own as long as they can wake up on time for the school day. And then really that's kind of the typical evening routine. Every now and then we might have a special event. So like our special Vespers event that we talked about earlier is actually tomorrow. So that would change the routine where we might have community event days where we want all of the boarders who are on campus and all of the staff. And we love when our day students come and join any of our programming to come and we won't have study hall. We all attend together as a community to support some of those really special events. And then we just ask that all of our students are available to participate in those milestone events. So that's about a typical day. And then kiddos are waking up anywhere between 6:30, 7:15. If you're middle, you're going to go grab your technology from the tech cabinet once you've gotten in your good sleep. And then we have breakfast in the dining hall and off to school by 8:15. So it provides that structure that students kind of need to be successful to meet their academic goals, their sleep goals, and then also to have some good social and community time.
Thank you. And looking at day student and boarding student interactions, are day students allowed on campus or in the dorms areas after school and on the weekends?
Yeah, so we love when our day students are part of that community. So they're invited to any of our weekend events that we have, any of our trips, on-campus activity times. Um, they can always come and hang out. We call our main residence hall is called Honeycutt Hall. And they're always welcome in Honeycutt to, come out and hang out and join in any of the programming. We'll have signups for all of the events that we run, especially for weekend events, lots of activities. And we really encourage them to get into those signups and come hang out with us on campus.
Yes, and at Linden Hall, our faculty and staff have weekend duty. And so we get to hang out with the boarders and some day students who decide to join us on the weekends. So I wanted to ask all of you, what are your favorite or more memorable weekend activities? Because Ms. Snyder does a great job of planning them. So anyone can start.
For me, it's
Oh,
literally eating. Like, so eating with the kids. I mean,
I
at the dining
second
hall,
that.
sure. Yeah, but like, oh my gosh, to get to
Mhm.
take them like out to eat, like is so, so special. And in the years I've worked in residence life, like really cool. Also, like recently I've been taking kids, there's a really cool Szechuan restaurant like out near Millersville called Epin. And like the kids will go and they'll like order in Mandarin and you're just trying like all of these, and it's this really cool kind of like reverse of positions almost, and so like they're ordering for you and being like, oh, Miss Solomon, like what would you like? And like it's so like it's just so cool. So I really love going to anything food related. But also like I love like game type things. So, like if we get to go to an arcade or like those sorts of things. But I also think that we're a game playing and handicraft doing community. And so, like Ms. Moliere is a beast at card games. And so like she, has like taught us all how to play like, high stress like card games and like, we love those sorts of
Only
things.
game
So,
she's good at, she told
yeah.
us.
I'm good at all of them.
Yes,
Yes.
what about for you all?
I mean, I'm all about the coffee runs. We have a bunch of we're we're blessed with having, you know, downtown Lidditz right there, but also we got Lancaster that's not a far drive away. We got Hershey that's not that far drive away. So we're kind of nestled in a good spot to where we have a bunch of different things that we can, kind of plug into. But yeah, for me, going checking out different like coffee shops that we would have. I mean, sometimes kids don't sign up for it. Makes me upset because then I don't get to go. But yeah, I mean, and on top of that, like anything, I mean, we do try to do a lot of like activity based things. So I mean, whether it's, disc golf or going for a hike or anything like that, that's usually something that's more up my alley.
Yeah, I also like anything active. So I have a distinct memory of taking a group of students ice skating last year. It's probably 4 or 5 girls. And in the van ride over, I'm asking all of them, have you gone skating before? Have you gone ice skating before? They all said yes. They all assured me they know how to skate. We get on the ice and they are wobbling and falling. And oh, it was just so much fun. So all of us were just holding hands the whole time, or some of them were just along the edge of the ice rink. But there were a couple times where I would see the girls across the rink and take out my phone to get a good photo of them, and then they'd fall like right as I was getting the photo. So those photos turned out as less than graceful. But all that said, I love anything active: skating, bowling, mini golf, that kind of stuff.
I also low-key really love van rides. Like if I mean our teenagers I feel like are really good at falling asleep on van rides, but if they're not, like there's something so fun just I mean, I don't know, I am not myself a parent yet, but like getting to be in the car with teens and preteens where they just are like talking about their day or literally you're just like eavesdropping on like what they're talking about with their friends like is really kind of joyful like for me as well.
And Ashley, do you have any?
I'd say one of my favorite ones was this year we found our local library has amazing events and they're right around the corner. We found a tea party and it was like a Jane Austen themed. Like people were dressed up. We had amazing tea snacks, like the whole kit and caboodle. There was like an auction and the kids who came, they dressed up. It was really precious and we just had a really nice time just doing something very different. And then we found out that a couple weeks after that event, there was a jewelry sale. So we went back and got discounted jewelry that the library was selling just to raise money for the library. So I like the things where we just find that are just randomly happening that we don't normally get to do and just is a little bit different from the normal everyday.
And one of the questions from our
Great.
attendees.
Natasha, what about you? Like you also live on campus. Like what's your favorite thing?
So I have two. One, I always love doing the bonfires. Ashley, you can always sign me up for the bonfires. I don't know. I think it was one of my first memories when I arrived on campus 6 years ago was doing the bonfire, even though I didn't know how to make a fire. I figured it out. But I also love the shopping trips, not because of the shopping, but because I get to shop with the girls and like have conversations with them. One of our students needed clothes for the fall concert. And so it was really fun, like bonding with her, trying to find an outfit for that. So I really love those because I feel like they're a little bit more just with a few girls going out and shopping. So those are my two favorite.
Keep that
um,
in mind.
And then one of our attendees asked, can students go off campus, not through our weekend activities, but if they want to visit a family member or a friend they met off campus or anything like that, are they able to? And what is the process?
Yeah, so I can hop in right there. So yeah, I mean that's definitely encouraged for sure. So we just do have a process where they submit a form. The form just kind of gives us as much information as possible, kind of, because we are responsible, so we need to make sure that we know exactly where they're going, who they're going to see, contact information for that individual. And on the back end of that is always getting parent approval. For said trip. So usually depending on where they're going, we can help, provide transportation or if they're getting picked up by a friend. Once again, we just try to get all that information ahead of time each week. Students are able to submit that form up to Wednesday, for the upcoming weekend. And then parents just send us email approving um, everything that they plan on doing for that off-campus trip. And then if we get approval, we make sure everything's good to go, and yeah, we approve it, and they're allowed to go venture, meet friends, catch up with family, go see something new. Um, yeah, it's definitely encouraged for sure.
I think it's one of the things that is the most fun. Like, I think about, we have 4 students this year who are on like a year-long exchange from countries in Europe. And so, like they are really like through sort of their day student friends or their, more local boarding friends, like getting to, get to know their families and, going out on excursions with them. And so I think there's some really cool, cross-cultural exchange that happens, with our international students who are making friends with our domestics, and like we had kids who, took some of our students on like trips with their family over Thanksgiving break and, stuff like that. And so it's really fun. Like something I enjoy too is sort of, introducing families, and being like, hey, your kids are friends, but maybe you guys haven't spent a lot of time together. And I think those are important connections too, sort of like family to family. And so it's fun kind of doing those sorts of introductions as well.
Thank you. And my last question is sports related. Our athletic director could not be with us tonight. She's on maternity leave. But do we have sports? What kind of sports do we have? How do we manage getting our students to and from practices that are off campus? So I'll let Mr. Pula start since he runs middle school gym.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, so we definitely have a variety of sports here on campus. One thing that's very unique to Linden Hall is equestrian. So we do have an equestrian here on camp. What was that, Solomon?
Archery.
Oh, archery too. Yeah, so we do have a bunch of things, and we also, if there's something that we do not provide on campus, like for example, lacrosse or softball or something like that. We do have agreements with local high schools in the area to where our students are allowed to try out for their teams and be able to participate there. So if we don't have, insane interest, we also still try to, get the 1 or 2 students that have interest that opportunity at the local high school. So I think we do really, Mrs. Martell does a really great job of, organizing, transporting vans, getting the right coaches involved that really are passionate and, focused on, building up the program, but also building up the athletes as well, which is obviously the main purpose of high school sports for sure. So increasing that interest, increasing that drive, but also building up the individual. And then from there on out, I mean, it is something that we have continued to try and build community around. I know Ms. Snyder has worked really hard to try to increase that interest and community feel as well. So we often would have a whole rush of students come and support our seniors on senior volleyball night. Certain things like that where we try to increase community, increase excitement around athletics as well. Anybody have anything else to add there?
I think a lot of our I'm so sorry. I hold that thought. One of my cats is misbehaving in a really incredible way. I'll be right back. Someone else talk about sports.
Well, I'll just share a little anecdote because it came up today when I was just checking in with a student and I asked her what she's been doing in her free time. And she's like, I like to play badminton. And I know a number of our students enjoy badminton. We don't have an official team, although that would be super cool if that happens in the future. But I was like, oh, like you mean at home you like to play badminton? I know we don't have a team here. She was like, no, I just go to the gym with my friend and we hit around when no one is using the gym. And so it is cool that even if we don't have a team for something, not only could a student play if there's a local team at the public school, but they also can just find ways to use our equipment at the right times and just play around, which is really sweet.
Sorry about that. So I was going to just add that, so for instance, some of our teams I feel like are in sort of like post-COVID build time, for lack of a better way to sort of describe it. Like, we're so proud. Like, our tennis team had a great season. And, I think they really embody in a beautiful way, what Mr. Pula talks about like wanting to sort of like build up the athlete. Like, our coaches are, my God, some of the most like well-loved, like staff people, I feel like, in the school community. And it's been really cool to see, like, I think that hasn't changed over the years. Like, I think they continue to give the same sort of love and care, but like, we're now really at this exciting place where you're like, oh my gosh, like, not only are we helping make great spirited student athletes, but like their skills are also starting to reflect, like that sort of like good sportsmanship that they demonstrate as well. And I think a lot of our sports are in sort of those kind of fun growing periods. Like, so because I've been here 9 years, I feel like when I first came, basketball was like really huge, and for my first couple of years, we sent like a number of kids, to play, college ball. And like, we're very much in a growing phase with this, but our coaches have been working with the teams for a couple of years, and really, again, like building community, and then those skills are following in a nice way. And so I don't know, I think it's a good vibe, for like lack of a better way to say it. Like, there's good work, I think, being done in team building and skills building in a lot of our teams right now. And, and then we have some that are really shining, and we have athletes in equestrian, in tennis, in whatever, that are going, really far. And that's super exciting.
Well, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you for our student affairs team this evening for answering some questions that we had regarding student life. So if you have any other questions, you're welcome to leave them in the chat, and I'm happy to email you and answer them. But to wrap up, Linden Hall is actively accepting applications for grades 6 through 12 for the fall 2025 school year. So you're welcome to email us at admissions@lindenhall.org, and we're here to answer any questions. I'm happy to forward your questions to our student affairs team if you have any. And so thank you for joining us tonight, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday break. Thank you.